You suck. Did you actually practice? You do not deserve to be on stage. Hi! Today I'm back to talk about episode 2 of Universe League, and this episode was... The episode starts off with the bench auditions, where the remaining trainees who weren't chosen to be on the teams were given another chance to audition, and they had to spread out on the stage to wait for their chance for the mentors to come up to them and ask them to audition again. Now, I can't imagine how nervous these trainees must have been because they had to perform in front of everybody and the mentor is standing right in front of them evaluating how well they're doing. And for this reason, I applaud Kuhanso, who was the first trainee shown who danced and sang immediately when the mentor asked him to do so. And of course, he passed because he's talented and he was confident in his skills. There were quite a few funny moments that made me laugh during the bench auditions. Like, for example, Yang Yang from the rhythm team. They passed a trainee and that trainee immediately crouched down and started crying. And Yang Yang, who saw this, he looked at the trainee and he said, "Oh!" And then he turned around and left to see another trainee. I don't know why that was so funny to me. And my absolute favorite moment throughout the entire bench auditions was Changsuk. He was going up to the trainees and immediately he said, "Sing the national anthem." And the trainees would just start singing the national anthem. I've heard it's actually quite common to sing the national anthem during K-pop auditions, but I don't know why I found it so funny that Changsuk just had the trainees singing the national anthem out of nowhere. And I just loved that moment so much. And of course, the highlight of the entire bench audition was Nam Do-yoon because he was so confident in himself even though he's not a great singer or dancer. And when he finally passed after attempting multiple times to be on a team, Ten, who auditioned him at least twice, he said, "Oh, darn it. Like, you had the chance to pass him multiple times." Honestly, if I was Nam Do-yoon, I wouldn't have been able to do it because he is so brave to just do what he's doing even though he knows that he ain't the best at singing or dancing. On to the first mission performances. I thought the rules were quite interesting. If a trainee receives 2 yellow cards, they will be eliminated from the show. And for this performance, first place is safe from any yellow cards. Second place gets 3 yellow cards. And third place gets 6 yellow cards. 6 is a crazy number because that's basically half of the entire team. There's 14 of them. 6 of them will get yellow cards. That means half the team will be on the brink of elimination for the next round. And I'm quite interested to see what's gonna happen to the team composition when they're uneven because I assume they're gonna keep 7 as the main number, but what's gonna happen with the bench players? Now, a side note, it's a little pet peeve of mine, but I swear these trainees always mention an Avengers team. Like, please stop! The last time I've seen an actual Avengers team on a survival show competition was during the Produce series. And ever since then, there has not been an actual Avengers team that lives up to that name. They just be calling Avengers team for any team that is slightly good. It's not true. Not all the teams are Avengers. Please, stop. The first team to start is Team Rhythm, and they are covering Wavy's Give Me That. And I've watched survival shows before, so I know that these trainees are not given a lot of time to practice before they actually have to perform on stage. And for this team, they were given 2 days to practice before they had to get their parts assigned to them. And I don't know if that's really effective or not, but in the end, it worked out for them because they were really good during their performance. But of course, when the mentors came to judge them after their 2 days of practice, they had to have their dramatic moments. Now, these aren't their exact words, but the typical, "You suck. Did you actually practice? You do not deserve to be on stage." Basically the typical comments that you would see. And of course, the mentors have to mention that sometimes they only have 3 days to learn an entire new song before they have to film a music video. And I understand that they are saying this to tell the trainees how serious they have to be for this job, but I think it's just unnecessary stress that it's giving them. Also, I was confused with the editing during this episode because why was the bench team shown in the practice videos, but they're just there. We know nothing about what they're doing. Like, it would have been nice if there was a little explanation before the mission started what the bench team was going to be doing. Because the entire time, I assumed that they would be performing the exact same song as the main team, but according to the preview for the next episode, that's not the case. Anyways, the bench team was ignored the entire episode, so it was really weird. Now watching Rhythm Team's performance, it made me a little sad because I just remembered that Wavy used to be a 7-member group, but now they're 5, unofficially or officially 5. Yikes. Of course, their performance was the best out of the 3, and JL is obviously main vocal material. Others that stood out are Steven and Siren for their good vocals, and for rapping, Juwon was actually really good. On to Team Beat. They are covering Girls Never Die by Triple S. And honestly, I was surprised that they would be covering a girl group song because on survival shows, boys covering girl group songs are usually the worst. I don't remember any good cover of a girl group song by boys on a survival show. And this team proved me right again. However, during their practice, I loved how Ungi immediately knew the meaning behind the song and he immediately gave ideas about how they should do the performance in order to share their message for the song. And it just shows how he's very passionate about being an idol and that he loves girl group songs. But their practice was full of drama because of a certain somebody who did not get along with the rest of the team. It honestly seemed like Park Ji-hoon just did not care to be there at all and he had no passion to be an idol. I don't even know why he's on this show because he's not even trying. You might think it's evil editing and that might be possible, but the footage that they showed clearly says otherwise. Because while the other teammates were practicing, he would just be walking around, looking in the mirror, touching his hair, not doing anything productive. The worst part was when he was called out for singing off beat when his part is supposed to be sung on beat. And instead of fixing his mistake, he doubled down and believed that his part was still off beat. And even worse was that Anyul revealed that they had 2 weeks to practice and he was still singing off beat. What are you doing, bro? Ji-hoon clearly can't sing on beat and he can't dance really good either. He's even mentioned himself that it's like his first time singing and dancing, but he's somehow trying to act smart with these experienced trainees that he knows better than them, and honestly, his attitude made no sense to me. And later on, he had a private conversation with El Capitan, who sounded like he was crying or something, and he was getting scolded because El Capitan kept hearing things about Ji-hoon that were clearly not good, and he told him to go apologize to his teammates. After this talk, I thought we would get a scene where he would say sorry to the members, but they just cut to him being weird during practice again, and then they showed the performance. So that did not end well. And the performance was not worth talking about. But we did get a very scary ending fairy from Zeon, so that's the only thing I remember. Finally, we have Team Groove, who covered Missing You by B2B, which is one of my favorite songs from them. So I was so happy that this was being covered. And there's not much to say about their practice, but Kenta really surprised me with his rapping, especially his Korean pronunciation, because he hasn't even learned Korean yet, but he sounds so good. So he's on my radar now. And there was also, I think, a clear comparison between Jungwoo and Park Ji-hoon from Team Beat, because Jungwoo also mentioned how he's learning to sing and dance for the first time, but they showed footage of him asking the other trainees to help him and him practicing hard, while Park Ji-hoon, we know what he did. However, Jongwoo got the MVP, which I don't think it should have been him. It should have been Park Han because he carried the team. So, to conclude, I think this episode was a little disappointing. I'm honestly surprised at how big of a difference the performances from episode 1 to episode 2 were, because I was so blown away in episode 1 and now I'm like, what? In episode 2. Team Rhythm was the only group that stood out and the other teams were not great. However, Kenta is added on my list of trainees that I like because I think he's gonna be really good in the future. And the preview for the next episode has me going, huh? Because it shows Team Beat cheering, so I assume that they won the entire mission, which is really weird because they had the worst performance. Like, you're telling me their bench team was able to do such an amazing job that they beat the other two teams? Let me know your thoughts on episode 2 in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. Bye! Why does Yang Yang and Ten keep calling JL jail? Please! Stop! His name is JL!